Hello everybody, thank you for watching. I'm Dr. James Randolph, Physical Therapist, and if you're watching this video, it's probably because you want to do the splits. Well, I'm here to provide some additional tips to help you gain that flexibility. Now, when I work on doing the splits, there are typically three things that I work on. Hamstring flexibility, hip adductor flexibility, and, you ready? Femoral acetabular joint mobility. That's just another way of saying the hip joint. Let's get started. Now, there's a lot of different ways of stretching the hamstring muscles. I personally prefer standing up. That way I can do it anywhere. At home, in the park, on the beach, on the patio. I start with my toes pointed straight up. And I try to keep my knee as straight as possible, even if it means I can't bend as far forward by bending the knee. I also prefer to turn my body in different directions and open up these hips to get different fibers of the same muscles and really get a good, efficient stretch.
Now let's focus on those hip adductor muscles. For this, I prefer to do it in sitting. This is what I call a seated hip adductor stretch. Now, a lot of people may feel a stretch just by sitting like this, so work on this for a few minutes and it should start to loosen up. Again, stick with your own comfort level. Everyone's different. As I do this, I gradually loosen up and I progress to my elbows on the floor. Work on this for a while, and it's okay to take breaks in between your holds for a few seconds or a minute. Relax, take the pressure off, and then get back into it as opposed to just trying to hold it the whole time. From there, I progress to head on the floor and really feel a stretch in the inner thighs, those adductors. Now for that hip joint mobility, I'll start with hip internal rotation mobility by dropping one leg off to the side behind me and the other one in front and then leaning backwards. And then really feeling that stretch in that hip joint. I'll also work on those hip adductor muscles in that joint mobility by spreading my feet apart, bracing my feet against the wall, and leaning backwards. And then as you loosen up, you can work on spreading those knees further and further apart.
Now, after breaking down each of these elements, let's put it all together. I target everything together at once by coming into the splits and then rolling back and forth, back and forth. And as I do this, I work my way down into the splits, then hold. I hold this for 30 seconds at a time, and I'll repeat that to the other side. Really try to focus on keeping my front toes up and my back toes down so the top or dorsum of the back of my foot is facing the floor. Then I'll finish by coming into the middle splits. I try to keep my toes pointed straight up to work on that hip joint mobility, and then just gradually work down and hold it until it loosens up.
I'll tend to focus on stretching each muscle group for about 5 minutes. That's how long I feel it takes me to really start loosening up the muscles. Over time, loading soft tissue, muscles, tendon, fascia, leads to soft tissue deformation or elongation, known as creep. This can take several minutes to optimize, but everyone's a little different. It's also important to avoid bouncing while stretching, as this can elicit a stretch reflex of the muscle, which thereby increases muscle tension and ultimately be counterproductive to the stretch. Also, bouncing doesn't allow for adequate time for the tissue to adapt to the stretch.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to watch my follow-up video where I'll go through advanced stretches that can utilize a partner and really take that flexibility to the next level.